then I did this. And then I did this.
All right, yo. All right, vibes, we back in the building. I'm recording in studio. Everybody been emailing me, leaving me messages, telling me to keep doing these news desk segments during the week. So, I think we're close to our regular hour. I'm gonna run through a couple of these news segments. It'll probably only be on for a little less than an hour when we get up out of here, and I'll turn the channel back on, and we'll do regular programming for the channel. What up, y'all? Put a one in the chat. Just a random pop up during the week, but I'm recording this joint in studio. I'll probably edit it up and put it in one of the clips. Put it in one of the clip shows. But we'll go through a couple news items, and we'll get up out of here. What we got first on the list? Let me see. Load up something. Oh yeah, let's do this one.
Prosecutor and
All right, bet.
reacting this afternoon with.
All right, so shout out to Trump. No matter how you feel about it. Yo, what up, Kwame? I see you in the building, man. I'm gonna run through a couple news stories and get some commentary. I'm recording in studio. Then I'll turn the channel back on. Probably start doing these 3 times a week. What up with you? But yo, Trump just commuted Larry Hoover's sentence. He's gonna get out soon. No matter what you feel about Larry Hoover, he's probably been in jail much longer than he was supposed to be. And Trump's got a new pardon czar. I wasn't pleased that it was a BW woman, but she was in prison for a long time unfairly, and she was pardoned, and Trump ended up making her the pardon czar. So I'm assuming this is one of her first recommendations. So kudos to her on that. We'll see where it goes. But let's play a bit of this.
Prosecutor in Larry Hoover's federal case reacting this afternoon with disappointment, telling us there are just some offenders and crimes that are not deserving of clemency, and Hoover falls in that category. But this afternoon, President Trump disagreeing, commuting Hoover's 6 life sentences on federal convictions to time served.
That's what it was. 6 life sentences. We got 6 life sentences for this.
Hoover still faces, however, a 200-year state sentence on a 1973 murder conviction, so it appears he won't be getting out of prison, at least in the near term. It was while behind bars serving time for that murder that federal prosecutors say he continued overseeing the Chicago Gangster Disciples, a gang that he co-founded. And in 1997, he was convicted of running a criminal enterprise. But Hoover's attorney says over the years, Hoover has been rehabilitated and written numerous letters talking about his experience, how he turned to crime, and the good he can do in steering young people away from a similar fate.
He is being held because he is a symbol, not because he needs further incarceration or he hasn't been rehabilitated. He's been a model prisoner for many, many years. He's been examined. He has been determined to be no risk.
If Larry Hoover said there was going to be a killing, there was a killing. If Larry Hoover said there was going to be a beating, there was a beating.
This the prosecutor that prosecuted his case, well, from the prosecutor's office. So, you know, they salty this is being overturned.
If Larry Hoover said there was going to be a drug deal, there was a drug deal.
Hoover's case has drawn the attention of a number of advocates and public figures, including Chance the Rapper and Kanye West. Hoover is currently serving time in Colorado, but with that state sentence, he'll likely be moved at some point to a prison in Illinois.
All right, Beth. So that's that segment. I want to so let's cover this with the we're gonna cover this on Sunday, but I got this is recently trending. I got this clip from Harris about them losing men voters, but they've already bet. This is from Harris Faulkner. So you know, whatchamacallit? Okay, Mr. O did a live on it. I'm sure. Yeah, bet. I was more than likely, yeah, Mr. O from Chicago. I'm wonder if Tito going to do a live on him also. But this Harris Faulkner doing. So, you know, we recovered on Sunday how the Democrats has lost a tremendous amount of male votership, white males in particular, but a growing number of the black male segment of the voters. So you can't make this shit up. They're about to spend we're going to cover this on Sunday, but they're about to spend $20 million on a study regarding syntax in the internet and how they can better communicate with male voters. You can't make this shit up. You think they just make some policy changes that are in favor of men's issues like Trump did, and it'd be a go. But this shows how lost the Democratic Party is. So I'm gonna play part of this segment, and you've got a Republican strategist and a Democratic strategist. But if you notice, even though it's about men, it's two black men. So that's the quiet part out loud, that they're really worried that they're losing these black male voters. It's on Fox, but the Democratic Party sent the black guy. Got two black men on here, one a Republican strategist, the other a Democratic strategist. But they're talking about the men vote, but it's black men that they have here on the panel. All right, so let's get into it.
Later, Democrats are still searching for the path forward. And part of that article says this, quote, Republicans are seen as apex predators like lions, tigers, and sharks, beasts that take what they want when they want it. And Democrats are typically tagged as tortoises, slugs, or sloths, slow, plodding, passive, end of quote.
Yo, that goes to the talking point that we helped to popularize, that the Democratic males and the Democratic Party in general is for beta males and sassy men. You know what I'm saying? Now, I'm glad that is taking traction, but now that's starting to bear out in the general public sentiment.
Quote, Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz did not like that comparison.
I'm not focused on the animals that some New York Times reporter compares the political parties to. My constituents are human beings.
I will tell you, it was the voters who were making the comparison with animals, and this was a focus group. It wasn't the New York Times reporter coming up with these labels. This was a Democratic-led focus group to try to figure out perceptions of the parties.
Don, you said they were asked to compare the parties, so they were prompted to compare the parties to animals. That is ridiculous.
Well, some...
And even with that exchange right there with Wasserman Schultz, that's the other part. It shows Democratic Party, in addition to beta males, it's a party. It's primarily a party for angry white women, elitist white liberals, and the Keishas being like the shock troops. Just a bunch of bitter old white women.
Democrats have expressed anger about the unfavorable views of their party. Others have pointed to some problems.
The way that you start to reach groups that you have lost favor with, or that used to support the party but now don't, and you're losing traction with them, is partly a language thing, but really it's more of a substance thing.
Democrats do themselves a disservice by not engaging in some introspection here and some reflection on how it is that the party that sees itself as the party of working people came to be seen by so many working people as a party of elites.
Power panel now, Jeremy Hunt, former Army intel officer and chairman of Veterans on Duty, and Fred Hicks, Democratic strategist. Jeremy, I'm going to start.
Look at the Democratic strategist, a thick-neck fried chicken-eating Negro.
Start with you. It's interesting. Look, I know these Democrats, former strategists, whomever, are being asked questions about this, but they have no loss for words talking about each other, themselves, all the things. I don't hear about the voters and what they learned from November 5th.
That's exactly right, Harris. I mean, the Democrats have become a party of the elite, as many of us know. A lot of the working class voters have flocked to the Republican Party, and a lot of the high net worth and college educated voters are flocking over to the Democrat Party. And the thing about elites is that elites tend to think that all of their ideas are always better than other people's. They tend to think that if they could just be in charge and tell Americans what to do, that everything would work out fine. But the problem is that Americans obviously do not respond positively to that. And the issue is that the Democrats, if you listen to what they're saying, they think their issue is messaging, that we need to do better messaging. That is fake humility. It's not actually, they aren't willing to say that maybe it's our ideas, maybe it's the stances that we've taken. And what they want to say is that if we can just, educate these dumb working class people to our ideas and tell them why we know what we're talking about, then they'll vote for us.
That's actually spot on. It's they generally have disdain for the people who actually vote for their party, or voters in general. And you see that being played out by them constantly gaslighting, giving you candidates that they tell you are qualified and aren't. And in particular, how they talk down to the black male American voter.
It's not going to work. And they actually, if they really wanted to get to the root of their problem, they'd actually do some real authentic introspection, not this fake humility about messaging.
Not even introspection. They really just need policy. Trump won on policy, aside from his personality and what have you, and the antics around the election. He had policy initiatives that resonated with the general American public, and in particular with the black male segment of voters, because we covered a tremendous lot of that leading up to the election. Yo, what up, Storm? I see you in the building. What up, Kwame Kaiju? I was just talking to Quiet Storm last night. Told him I was going to do a joint like this tonight. So yeah, I'm going to be doing these news desk joints. We're going to try and do them 2 to 3 times a week until we can get it regular. Yeah, but let's get cracking. Yo, what up, Storm? Storm of Tokyo doing the damn thing.
Wow, the debate is on now, Fred. Fake humility. Wow. I mean, that's a phrase, and it captures a lot of what it seems like is going on your side of the aisle.
Well, I think it captures one person's perspective. And let me just say this before we really get into this.
Well, and some of the people in that report who called you, what they call you, slow, plodding, and passive. I mean, does that describe you as a Democrat?
Well, so...
Yeah, that's spot on. They are slow, plodding, and passive. But yeah, look at this. Look at the Democratic representative, fried chicken eating Negro. She said, does that describe you as a Democrat? Sure does.
Harris and Jeremy, I think what we're losing sight of right now is why we're even having this discussion. And the reason why we're having this discussion is that Donald Trump...
There you go. Didn't answer the question, deflect, and then pivot to Donald Trump. And that's why they're losing. They've got no policy and nothing to talk about. Their entire strategy is blame Donald Trump or what have you. What is your party going to do, sir? And especially for the black male voter.
Just push the Congress to pass a bill that's going to add over $3 trillion in debt to the U.S. government. He is violating due process. He has been challenged in the courts, and the courts ruling against him left and right, including when he's trying to tell institutions of higher education how to manage their business. And so the whole reason why we're here is because Donald Trump is leaving what I've said before is a cavernous opening for a Democrat.
That doesn't answer why you lost the goddamn election. And you lost all the down party races as well.
So for Americans really to step forward. And here's the other thing. If this is a Democrat doing the things that Donald Trump are doing, then Republicans would be up in arms. And my philosophy is that
hold on a second. You have plenty of time to be up in arms, but you're all focusing on, you're navel gazing. You're focusing on yourselves. You're trying to fix it. The fake humility. Look, that's a catchphrase now that Jeremy has come up with, but you got to call it for what it is. And
It is a huge
what it
opening for
is you
Democrats,
have a
and we're
lot of
trying to figure out how to
complaints
take
about
it.
Donald Trump, but you're not doing anything to go forward other than lawfare.
Lawfare.
Facts. And let me say this: look at the black men that represent the Democratic Party. Weak, overfed, useless. Dude, this guy's like a Timo Roland Martin.
So what we're doing is we're looking at how to take advantage of this opening, and so we can fight for Americans. Again, unfortunately, with this big, beautiful
Which
bill that they
Americans?
passed
The rich
last week-
Americans? God love us
no,
all.
the average,
but
the average.
Yeah, no, you guys are fighting for migrants and immigrants. You haven't been doing anything for your constituents. We still don't know anything that the Democrat Party is doing for the American black male, the FBA male.
you ignore the
Americans who
average
are-
people, income
The
people.
Americans who are relying upon Medicare, Medicaid, and basic services that are being cut in favor of the rich and the famous. That's who we're fighting for.
Jeremy, pick up and then we'll move forward.
Yeah, look, I mean, the whole issue there is that there's a total reluctance to actually look and say, what are the substantive policy positions that we've taken and why aren't they working? The problem with Democrats is that
Facts, substantive policy positions that we've taken, and why aren't they working? Spot on.
they don't believe that Americans, I don't know if they don't think Americans are smart enough to actually care about the issues, but a lot of Americans do.
Yeah, Kwame. She is G-checking old boy, right? That shit crazy. Faulkner, she do a good job at moderating her panels and stuff like that. She's actually one of the better ones over on Fox. But watch how the rest of this shit play out. The Democrats are consistently giving a bad showing.
And now with social media and the availability of information, we actually can.
He's speaking about us, exactly. With social media, the availability of information, and the way that in real time we can break down news, broadcasts, and all false information and gaslighting and propaganda that they send out at the public. It's hard for the mainstream media to carry the water for the Democratic Party.
Get the facts and get an understanding of what's really going on. We don't have to go through legacy media anymore. We don't have to rely on the Democrat Party talking points. And once that whole veneer has started to fall, now Democrats are being exposed for what they are, and that's a party of out-of-touch elites.
All right, let's...
Facts. Spot on. All right, this guy's the black Republican guy is doing good.
Let's get to this way. Republicans are mocking Democrats now over a proposed plan to better communicate.
Yeah, this is what I was talking about. They're about to spend $20 million to research syntax and social media, podcasts and gaming to figure out how they can regain male voters. Yo, this does. It's almost like this is ludicrous if it wasn't real. Like it's some type of we're being punked or something.
With male voters, and it could cost $20 million at least, according to a New York Times report. Quote, the Speaking with American Men plan promises to invest in syntax and language to connect with men. It also recommends advertising in video games and avoiding a moralizing tone. Congresswoman Lisa McClain, chairwoman of the conference committee, says this about that. The Democrats are getting ready to light $20 million on fire to study their unpopularity, exclamation point. Another Republican says the Democrats declared war on masculinity and a lost generation of young men instead of doing an introspection as to what they did wrong. They're going to invest $20 million studying male syntax to try to better communicate their radical message.
That is actually spot on. Exactly. They're not actually trying to adjust any type of policy. They're investing money, market research to figure out how they can better communicate their radical message. They're actually investing money and trying to create better propaganda and better indoctrination, not actually create policies that are beneficial to males in general and black males in particular.
Conservative activist Charlie Kirk.
If they think that's what it's actually going to take to win back young men, maybe you need a message and a messenger that they can relate to. The Democrats have had a moralizing, almost scolding tone to them that if you do not adhere to our orthodoxy, you are a non-believer and you are not allowed in our ranks. And because of that, men of America have been sick and tired of being told what to do from a political party that hates them.
Fred.
Yo, I think you spot on, Quiet Storm. He said more wasteful spending, another laundering slush funds. Yeah, that actually might be what it is. With them actually having no interest in doing anything, just trying to launder some dough. Because I was saying the 18-point mail agenda on Dr. Tirsan Johnson's site is fucking free. It's a PDF download. They'd be better ahead than with the 20 million they're spending on this nonsense.
So I appreciate the fact that the Democratic Party understands that it has a problem based on the poll results and the election results from last year. The reality is that Democrats did lose a large portion of vote share, really across many segments, including with men. Mm-hmm. And so this is something that needs to be addressed. And I think that's a really good thing to acknowledge that there's an issue there and that we need to work on that. That being said, again, as I just mentioned, I think there are a number of areas where we talk about the message or the substantive parts of policy, that there's something there. As a man, I don't want to leave my kids or my grandkids or my nieces and nephews when I have them and all of that with a $3 trillion increase in the deficit. That's not what we.
You see how he tried to pivot again? He don't. It's an open opportunity for him to actually address the issue directly with why you guys investing this much money because you've lost the male vote. And what does he do? He takes it as an opportunity to deflect and pivot and attack the Trump budget. And that's why these are loose. They don't have anything.
We voted for. The hypocrisy of this version of the Republican Party versus what they ran on in 2024 versus what they're doing in 2025 is galling. And as men, we're going to be left holding the bag with that. Wow. And I think Democrats are wise to look at how to handle that.
Now, I don't think you're paying attention to what the economy is actually. You do know inflation's been going down. I mean, I don't know how much attention you're. It was at 9%. It couldn't go any higher without people ending up in the streets. I mean, come on. We can't argue about the Biden era inflation without taking a look at just how historic it really was. Jeremy, last word.
The $3 trillion.
Yeah, look, if Democrats really wanted to make a difference and make a change, they wouldn't spend $20 million on studies or more polling. It's all about just listening to people. Just listen to Americans. Yeah. Invest in flight tickets. It's in all these Democrat staffers and media personalities on the left. And all these people who are, have influence on the left, fly out to real America, get outside the DC Beltway and actually listen to people. Not for a photo op, not for a press conference or a press release. Just listen to Americans, listen to men, see what are the issues that we actually care about. And then maybe they'll see some results. But I don't know if that's what they're going to do based off of Fred's talking points. I don't know if they're in the right position to even think that way.
Well, look, listen to people and then devise really good policy. I mean, Fred's got it. It's just not happening at all. All right, gentlemen, thank you.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here.
All right, bet. I think the most important part of that is, even with all the bullshit aside, that direct money is being spent. Direct money's being spent for a male vote, black male or male in general. I agree with Quiet Storm and maybe part laundering and whatnot. But as far as talking points go, I think it's important and it's a step in the right direction that they're not talking about the female vote, and we don't see them doing these this big Keisha drive to get the Keisha vote. I think they all of the attention is being pushed toward gathering male voters. I'm gonna play this one last news segment. Trump's big beautiful bill just passed in the House. It's on its way to the Senate. I like that guy, Soldiers of Finance. He's a black guy. But he's a finance guy. But I found this other guy. He's called Jesus. What is his name? Smart Money Bro. And actually, his channel is actually pretty big. He's got like 500,000 subscribers. But he does finance too and like business. But he's got one of the best breakdowns of in plain language of what was the big deal with Trump's budget. And so he does like a full breakdown of the budget in the language everyone can understand. So I want to go through a bit of this. And then me and Saul probably actually revisit this. But since a lot of our audience is interested in the politics, and this is the first time we're really on the playing field with regard to policy and budget. Let's go through a bit of this and hear it from a brother. All right, bet. Let's go over this segment. This is I found this content creator. It's actually got a pretty. He's over 500,000 subscribers. That's crazy. So he's gonna Trump's big beautiful bill just got passed, which is awesome. So he's actually gonna go through it bit by bit and break down why is it beneficial to you, as in the middle class people in particular, brothers in particular. So
guys, this is breaking news. The much anticipated and talked about bill from President Trump that he coined it himself, the one big beautiful bill. It passed through the House of Representatives earlier today. Really earlier today, after they had a marathon all-night session and they voted on it like 6 or 7 in the morning this morning. Now, there's some shocking changes that are inside of this bill that you need to know about, and it's going to have a major effect on many Americans. And that's one of the reasons I'm doing this particular video, so I can keep you up to par on what's going on, right? First thing I want to do in this video is give you a quick rundown of the bill itself. And then I want to give you a rundown of some of the changes and how these changes are going to affect us everyday citizens, right? Third thing I want to do is go over a real quick article from the Wall Street Journal to sort of sum it all up and give us an idea where we're going next. Now, this video is for information, guys. Whether this is going to be good for the American people or this bill is going to be bad for the American people, look, I want you to make up your own mind. I don't want to tell you how to think or what to think. I just want to give you the facts, and I believe that you're smart enough to be able to make an independent decision about what you think and about how you should be preparing in your own life. So with that said, let's jump into it. A quick recap of the bill itself, the original bill. So the original bill, just so we're clear and you know, it offered permanent provision for the 2017 tax cuts to continue. Now, those 2017 tax cuts are going to be extended, and they're also going to continue the child tax credit deduction. It's increased.
That's actually important, because if you listen to the Democratic talking points, they're always saying that that Trump was actually going to cut those things. So this brother's actually going through the bill line by line. Let's go.
In this current bill, up to $2,500 for 4 years. Also, this current bill contains no tax on tips and no tax on overtime. And it also includes some tax exemptions on Social Security for people.
So they were saying he was going to cut Social Security, remember? So there's tax exemptions on Social Security and no tax on tips, like he promised during the campaign trail.
I think making under $75,000 or so. And there's also in the current bill more money for border security of the border wall, and there's more money for defense, right? Also, big piece of the current bill as it stands is work requirements for people receiving Medicaid between the ages of 19 and 64. There's going to be new copays and new reductions to the reimbursements to people that receive Medicaid. And there's also in this bill going to be other cuts to social programs like what we used to call food stamps. It now is called SNAP. But other social programs are going to be cut through this bill. And these cuts to these social programs, let me say this, these are big cuts to these social programs. So this is really big news for a lot of them.
Which is good, because that affects Keisha. It affects a lot of more white people on welfare than anyone, but we're only concerned about Keisha.
Americans, right? Now, these cuts to social programs may not affect you, but they're going to have an effect on somebody you know, a family member or, a friend of the family, right? Now, the other thing is this. We have to understand about this one big bill right now is that it's not law at this point, right? It's made it through the House, but now it has to make it through the Senate, right? Makes it through the Senate, then it has to go before the president who signs it, right? Now, making it through the Senate will probably be a tough task for this bill, right? So let's jump into what happened overnight and why this is really breaking news, because they made some very, very important changes to the bill in order to get it passed out of the House. Now, Republican leaders, let me say this also. Democrats don't like the bill. Republicans like the bill, but the Republicans are split. Some like it as is, some don't like it as is. And so the Republican leaders last night, they had to implement several significant.
Okay, you notice he's saying last night. So this video is a few days behind, but I want to go over it because he does a very good job walking through the legislative process, getting the items in the bill, how they affect you, how they affect the everyday American, as opposed to billionaires as such. And and he does a good job walking you through the actual process and some of the back office politics with regard to the bill, and then getting it passed through Senate, etc.
Significant changes to address concerns that some of the more conservative, far right-leaning Republicans had. And just so you know, the bill narrowly passed with a 215 to 214 vote. So just by one vote, it made it out of the House of Representatives. So these last minute changes, they apparently worked. But let's go over what these last minute changes were, right? The first one is this. The last minute changes accelerated these Medicaid work requirements. So the implementation date for Medicaid work requirements was January of 2029. Well, the really big change they made overnight is they moved that up to December 2026. Now that's huge, right? Now that change was made to satisfy some of the demands from some of the more conservatives in the House, right? They wanted quicker reforms to these entitlement programs like Medicaid. And by the way, Medicaid is a state-run program to help people that need help with health care. Medicare is a federally ran program to help people that need help with their health needs. So Medicaid, state, Medicare, federal, but Medicaid at the state level, it also receives some federal funding, right? So when we say Medicaid, we're talking about state, but we know that federal funding is what helps Medicaid, right? So there were a number of Republicans that did not think that these work requirements for people receiving Medicaid starting in 2029 was appropriate, right? So just to kind of sum that up, people who are receiving Medicaid previously in this bill, they had a few more years before they needed to get a job to keep their Medicaid health benefits going. Now, the way it's proposed now and went through the House, you only have until December of 2026. Now they got to get a job sooner if they want to keep their Medicaid benefits. Guys, let me know in the comments below your thoughts on moving up the work requirements for people receiving Medicaid from 2029 to 2026. If that was a good thing, an okay thing, a bad thing, let me know in the comments section below. Now, the second major change overnight to this bill was they increased SALT deduction cap, the SALT deduction cap. Now, to gain support from Republicans in high tax states, your Californias, your New York, the cap that they set on the state and local tax deduction had to be raised from just $10,000 up to $40,000 for individuals earning up to $500,000. So let me say it in another way. The people earning less than $500,000, which is most of us, could only subtract from our taxable amounts $10,000. Now we can subtract $40,000.
You see that? He's doing a really good job breaking down these individual tax breaks in the bill. So if you're earning under $500,000 and you're filing your taxes, depending on how you're filing, now you have an additional $30,000 deduction. That's pretty good,
right? So being able to subtract more from our taxable income with these higher deductions going from $10,000 to $40,000 means that ultimately we'll pay less. Now, that's really going to help out people in the large states that have high taxes like New York and California. See, the representatives from New York and California were really lobbying hard to get that cap raised from $10,000 to $40,000 to help out the constituents in their states.
Facts. Exactly.
And so with this revision last night, that deduction cap increased, meaning people pay less taxes. Now, the third major change from last night is the reduction of clean energy tax credits. Okay. This bill that they put through last night, it expedited or rushed through this whole phase out of these clean energy tax credits. In other words, before, the government was giving money to people and businesses who built and wanted to build solar and wind energy to help them, right? That money that the federal government was giving is going to run out sooner because the bill shot through the opportunity to phase out these clean energy tax credits quicker. Now, the fourth major issue that was changed just last night is the adjustments to what's called the remittance tax. Now, a lot of people don't know what the remittance tax is. Let me explain it to you. The remittance tax is a tax that's placed on money that has already been taxed that you're sending out to another country. So the remittance tax was proposed in the original bill at 5% on overseas remittances. But with the changes from last night, it got reduced to 3.5%. Now, that's going to alleviate some of the concerns about, the financial impact of, say, immigrants in America trying to send money out to their family and friends in other countries.
Facts.
So before, people who sent money to family and friends in other countries from America, they had to pay an extra 5% tax on that money. Now, that extra tax is a little smaller at 3.5%. Now, the fifth last minute change was one that I know my Second Amendment folks out here are going to really love. The fifth last minute change to this big, beautiful bill, or whatever you want to call it, is the elimination of gun silencer tax. So the bill removed a $200 tax on the manufacturer of gun silencers. And I know that aligns really nicely with my Second Amendment folks out there, right?
Right. That's a good call. For the all his NRA and Second Amendment advocates that voted him into office. And that's what I was saying about Trump being a good politician, but moreover, a transactional businessman. He operates from the art of the deal, like getting things done that are mutually beneficial to all parties involved.
So before, if you made a silencer for a gun, you had to pay $200. Now, that $200 would be typically passed on to the consumer who's going to be buying the silencer, right? So now that's eliminated. There's not an extra $200 tax on silencers that has to be paid by the manufacturers anymore because of the change that was made last minute last night. So, Second Amendment folks, I know you're happy about that one. Now, the sixth and final change, major change last night in order to get the bill passed was an odd one, but they renamed the children's savings accounts from the MAGA accounts to Trump accounts. The proposed $1,000 that you could open up as a MAGA account. They just changed the name to the Trump account. Now, why did they do that? Probably some type of branding or marketing. Look, I don't know. That one kind of surprised me that they did that. And I don't know why they did it, but I wanted to mention it to you. It doesn't make any difference what you call it, but for some reason they changed it. And again, I have no clue about this one. So these last minute changes were really, really important and instrumental in securing the necessary votes to get this bill passed in the House this morning. The legislation, again, now this whole bill as is moves to the Senate. Now, guys, I quickly want to go over this article that I found in the Wall Street Journal written just a couple of hours ago about Trump's big, beautiful bill heads now to the Senate, where new fights loom. Multi-trillion-dollar package of tax cuts and spending reductions squeaked through the House. Now, this article talks about President Trump's big, beautiful bill squeezed through the House after a late scramble to get rival factions on board. Next, it goes to the Senate, where GOP lawmakers are already making demands and party leaders will once again need to bridge sharp disagreements. GOP lawmakers are Republican lawmakers, Republican senators or Congress members, but in this case, it's senators. It says the more than 1,000-page bill passed the House early Thursday morning after Speaker Mike Johnson found a recipe that satisfied just enough lawmakers who approved the measure by just one vote after an all-night session. Right, so they're trying to rush this thing through quickly, and you always got to wonder when they start rushing bills through, what's really in the bill, right? You want to take a real close look of what's taking place in the bill if they're trying to rush something through, right? You always got to take a little bit closer look or look at it with a side eye when they're moving so fast, because we know Congress has a tendency to move slow. So what is making them move fast right now? Just a question you got to ask yourself. It says Senate Republicans are split. Some are eyeing further spending cuts while others are looking for bigger tax relief or gentler phase outs of clean energy incentives. It says the White House bill is a catch-all container for Trump era GOP policies. It extends expiring tax cuts, adds versions of the president's pledge to remove taxes on tips and overtime and pay Social Security benefits, and provides new money for border security and the military. It cuts into Democratic priorities such as Medicaid, food aid, and higher education. In all, the bill is expected to increase budget deficits by more than $2.7 trillion through the year 2034. It goes on to say that some GOP senators want to try for deeper spending cuts, even as Senate Republicans also insist that some tax cuts temporarily extended by the House be made permanent. Budget hawks pointed to the move by Moody's ratings this month to strip the U.S. of its final AAA credit rating.
Yo, what Storm say? He said, let me get this straight. Less cost on weapons, less taxes, and making the welfare state work for the benefits. Interesting. I know, right? Everybody's saying, I hope now you got Trump in now. Are you happy? You like what you're getting? Like, yeah, we like what we getting. A lot of this stuff is working out pretty solid. Like I said, a lot of these policies, long run, is working out very well for Americans in general, and for the FBA black man in particular. A good deal of some of these things coincide with, if not directly, indirectly with some of the items on the 19-point political agenda for black men. Like I said, even these pardons and what have you. Red Line, I see you in the building, man. And salute Hashim Shabazz. I see you, Playboy. Let's go.
Okay, 3 boroughs have now dropped the U.S.'s credit rating over the last several years. So that's really important. Now, why is that important? Because this bill calls for more than a possible increase of $2 to $3 trillion in the national debt, right? So this is automatically going to raise the debt. And if you can remember back a year ago this time, Republicans were saying, no, we don't need to raise the debt. We need to fight for reducing the debt. This is crazy. We can't keep raising the debt. And then you had Democrats saying, no, we're going to raise the debt. Now, 1 year later, you say Republicans saying, we're going to go ahead and raise the debt. And you see Democrats saying, no, don't raise the debt right now. Very strange, but they flip-flop on that issue all the time, depending on what they want. And then it goes on to say in this article that at the top of the list for some lawmakers are deeper cuts to Medicaid, right? The state federal health care program that ensures low-income Americans. Senators might also try to revise a House deal that raises the cap on deductions for state and local taxes to $40,000 from the current $10,000. In other words, keep this in mind. The Senate can make changes to this bill, so keep that in mind as well. And it goes on to say that Senator Rand Paul, the Republican out of Kentucky, opposes the legislation's multi-trillion-dollar increase in the federal borrowing limit, saying that makes him a hard no on it. So you got these Republicans that are staying with their stance about let's not raise the federal debt, right? We don't want to go up on this thing. So you got some hardliners that are Republicans that are over there in the Senate that are going to vote no on this thing more than likely. And then it goes on to say that Medicaid is the biggest target for cost cutting. The House bill reduces federal Medicaid spending by increasing eligibility checks, like I mentioned, imposing work requirements on most able-bodied adults through age 64 without dependents, and reducing federal Medicaid payments to states that provide health care coverage for immigrants in the country illegally. Now, this article goes on to say that Representative Jason Smith, the Republican out of Missouri, the chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee, said he expected the Senate bill to be 90% to 95% similar to the House version, noting that he often talks with his Senate counterpart, Mike Crapo, a Republican out of Idaho. He said the Senate needs to move carefully when making changes, including on such issues as the SALT cap that we mentioned from 10,000 to 40,000 that were key to the House passage. So guys, for you right now as an American citizen, there is absolutely no better time than right now to get your money right, to get your personal finances together, pay off the debt, build an emergency fund, get started now so that you can find yourself on the better side of all of this in 5 or 10 years from now, right? So guys, I hope I was able to give you a quick rundown, a quick recap of where we are with this bill right now. If you want to know how to build your own personal financial...
All right, bet. Nah, that's the guy's channel, Smart Money Bros. And you know, I reviewed Soldier of Finance. I'm actually pleasantly surprised. There's a lot of black guys online doing finance content, and it's actually pretty good. These guys seem to know what they're doing. But this is one of the best breakdowns on the passage of Trump's new bill that just passed the House, has to pass in the Senate. But this is one of the best breakdowns I've seen, and I like the way that he, because he spoke in plain language. And like Quiet Storm was saying, like that, him raising the ceiling on that on those deductions. Like I said, depending on how you file taxes, but your ability to do $40,000 worth of deductions as opposed to 10,000, that's hella good. All right, let me do one last segment. Quiet Storm sent these to me during the Sunday stream. And, you know, we covered the congresswoman out of Florida who's lobbying for a Tory to be released and has petitioned the Governor Gavin Newsom in California for Tory's immediate pardon and release. But in light of all that, Megan Thee Stallion is melting down online. Quiet Storm sent me this clip. So let's play the Megan clip, and then we'll do a quick rehash of the segment from the Sunday show on this congresswoman.
Time they try to set a motion for a new trial, so they trying to pull shit out the air. Like, okay, let's do this now. I'm not about to keep going with y'all. Y'all defending somebody who didn't even take the stand and defend themselves. Y'all going back and forth about facts. Y'all could go read real shit. Like, y'all literally believe.
She is crashing out. This congresswoman got her nervous.
Anything if it's bold and in all caps. Like, go read something that's going to take you a minute to sit down and have a good read. Like, go read something that's going to make you have to do some critical thinking. Not a thing that is curated by bots and blogs that hate me. Like, y'all need to sit down and have a good read. Like,
she trying to say it's fake news. Nah, we got the congresswoman on Newsmax. Making her rounds in the media.
Imagine somebody saying that they did not commit a crime and not defending themselves to the T. Imagine y'all saying somebody is following the street code, not snitching. Are you snitching or are you not snitching? Because y'all trying to pretend like Kelsey shot me. Kelsey didn't motherfucking shoot me, and I really wonder why she...
If she got a lawyer, her lawyer need to tell her to shut the hell up.
Her main problem with me was, you won't tell people I didn't shoot you. I was like, Kelsey, I don't want to talk about this on social media at all. But now you won't even get online and defend yourself. So that really just proves my points. Either you took some money or your life is in danger. Like, why won't you get online and say, bitch, because this is what y'all care about. Y'all care about online because the case already won in court. But y'all care about online. Why would y'all motherfuckers not get up there and say, if you say you didn't shoot me, why won't you get on the stand and say I didn't shoot this bitch? You say it online every day. You figure out how to get your niggas to say you didn't do it. You figure out how to get the blogs to say you didn't do it. But the one motherfucker it would have mattered from was you. You should have said, I didn't do it. Kelsey did it. If she did it, why wouldn't you just say she did it? Kelsey, if you did not do it, why won't you just say, I did not do it? I know who shot me. I said who shot me, and that's why the fuck you in jail. Y'all motherfuckers are dragging it online like it's some new evidence. There's no new evidence. Motherfucking witnesses went missing. Why? I wonder why the witnesses went missing. Did y'all pay them? Why y'all showing up?
Total crash out. But this is why we're going to take a segment from the Sunday show. Just for a quick reminder, we're going to wrap it.
Evidence in itself should pretty much speak for itself. We are calling on Gavin Newsom to issue that pardon immediately. And also remember, he was almost killed in jail. I actually talked to him today on the phone, and he said that once he does get out, once he does get this pardon, which I do feel confident that he'll be getting, he's going to work extensively in prison reform because this should never happen to anyone.
Around some kind of the Foreign Relations Committee, and you're from Florida. Why did you take such an interest in this case?
specifically how I got involved in this case is I actually am friends with Amber Rose, and she had flagged it for me. And when I actually spoke to the attorneys that are representing Mr. Lanes, they actually presented me with evidence. When I saw the evidence that was brought forward, we're talking about no forensics DNA on the magazine of the pistol, a 0.01 DNA match, which effectively means that he could not have been the shooter, to include there being ring footage that really refutes and dispels the testimony that, you know, he had basically said dance and then fired the firearm. In addition to that, there also being missing ballistics fragments from the alleged, you know, shot in the foot, as well as medical x-rays. All of this does indeed show and prove that Mr. Lanes, unfortunately, is being incarcerated and he's an innocent man.
Is this the new evidence that you had tweeted about? This ring video, you said there's a ring video that will refute?
Yep, it was actually brought to my knowledge by the attorneys, and we actually had posted that on one of our X platforms, that there's allegedly ring video footage that refutes the statements and they, I would say, hearsay comments in court testimony.
Have you seen it, and is it going to be released?
I am actually actively pushing for the release of that, and there's also an affidavit that the attorneys have actually shown me already that actually came from, we will be presenting that and posting that publicly for everyone to see in the coming days.
If I was the appellate lawyer or the lawyer trying to secure a pardon for him or a new trial, and I had a video showing somebody else shot him, I would shot her. I would send that out immediately to the media to create this kind of firestorm. To then release, you would get the governor's attention. Why wouldn't they immediately release a video if it shows? I mean, because that's the smoking gun, literally.
I don't know. Again, as I stated, I haven't seen the footage yet. But what I will say is that all of the information that's been brought forward and flagged to us is also going to be presented if it hasn't already been sent to the governor's office. And I would also say that it's incredibly important for people to realize that the body cam footage, which I'm sure you guys are aware of, has also reported, and the initial medical responding doctor at the ER with Miss Stallion actually reported lacerations, and also too, the bullet fragments are missing, meaning that they don't have evidence. When you have very wealthy people involved, that he said, she said, evidence goes missing. I mean, this is all something to me that indicates where there's smoke, there's fire, and this screams cover up. And so what I would say is that people need to be very careful about this, because if this can happen to someone like Tori, it can happen to you guys.
All right, so what I gotta say about this is, I mean, there's so much. I mean, I'm gonna leave some on the table, but I would say this. This is one of very many, expansions of, is it Amber, doing her stuff, behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes.
And, yeah, salute to her, because she was responsible with, speaking with them about her and Kardashian, actually.
Yeah, her and Kim.
Exactly, addressing the stuff when it comes down to incarceration and the criminal justice system. Who would think that the Republican Party would take the quote-unquote mantle on criminal justice reform, right? I mean, isn't this something that liberals typically, would monopolize and say that they do, right? And now, when you think about it, 5-6 years ago, in popular culture and terms and stuff like that, you would always hear, oh, the Kardashians, they're turning out black men and this, that, and the other. Isn't that interesting? What were they hiding? What were they trying to keep us away from? You know what I mean? And what I think that they were ultimately keeping us away from was a sort of massive exercise in saying, we own you. We don't want you going elsewhere. We don't want you considering other options and stuff like that. Even when it comes to your well-being and freedom. You know what I mean? So there's that. There's also the point that, like I said before, it's normally political suicide for people to mention any sort of advocacy that will predominantly help black men. And you see Luna out of Pensacola, Florida, salute to her and her service and efforts and stuff like that, and really, really taking a task, and continuing to address these sorts of things. And then, of course, you also have the sort of dynamics where if there's he say, she say, why is there credibility being lent more to her? And if there was a lie, especially when it comes to something criminal, like, should there be damages? You know what I mean? On the part where his life is being risked, not only by the state, but maybe there should be some sort of punishment leading toward Megan Thee Stallion with that sort of ring video, along with, the fact that, like the sort of DNA evidence, like where was this? You know what I mean? Like, where was this? Like, why is this coming up now? So, I just got tons of questions along with, some analysis, but even more questions as a result of this. So I'll land my plane there.
All right, cool, bet. So yeah, with right under an hour, bet. All right, so I looked at. I didn't get a chance to put a poll in the chat, but I asked in the chat. All right, so all right, we're gonna do more of these like news desk joints during the week. I'll start pulling the content together for them. I might be back on tomorrow or Friday. I gotta play it by ear. But a lot of it is just because there's too much stuff for us to cover on a Sunday. So on Sunday, we try to get all the, the big stories, basically the stuff that moves the boat further, the furthest and the fastest. That being said, all right, thanks for everybody showing up in the chat. Probably be back either tomorrow or Friday. I'll post it on the community tab. Let you know I'm definitely going on Sunday shows as regular. I know, as you guys can see, we're posting long form content a lot now. Hopefully we'll be posting it daily. We're trying to get the long form content into the algorithm. Make sure you guys just give us a like and leave a comment. I'll respond to all you guys in the comments. It's good for the algorithm. We're trying to grow the channel, man. I want to thank everybody. We hit 26,000 subscribers. Tito's channel is growing. And the Sunday shows are a mainstay. All right, thanks for everybody who showed up in the chat, man. That's a wrap for this evening. And like I said, I'll more than likely either be back tomorrow or Friday. I'll leave a tag on the community tab, let you know until we get on a regular schedule with these. But good night and good luck.
Then your light shall spring forth. Then you shall call, and the Lord shall answer. Then you shall cry, and the Lord shall say,
but if you put your diamonds in the water, you're gonna have to take it back. I be knowing. You think I don't be knowing. Yeah. Made my first 1,000 and I shed a tear. Mansion with the chandeliers coming next year. It's hard to fellowship with all of my peers. I'm light years ahead. Pouring lean for my friends is dead. I was on the corner while you niggas was still in bed. I was 20,000 up while you was still in the red. When I get this billion, I'ma make sure my niggas fed. Like Jesus Christ at the dinner table, I'm breaking bread. Fuck with me. I can pay your car note off with one gift fee. I can shoot your car door off with one blicky. Telegram conversations if you try and hit me. Just left Neiman Marcus, I spent $750. Your rent $750. Me and my strap like Max and Frenchie, the perfect match. The puppeteer when it comes to rap, no strings attached. I can make you disappear just by lifting my hat. Don shit, champagne Perignon shit. Just pour the glass of this Cristal shit. UV rapping on the bottle, block the sun rays. What you broke niggas know about this? Low top Valentino kicks. Women wanna kiss. Private jet for my business trips. Rose petals by the landing strip. When I get off the plane, playing chess with my shooter, trying to strengthen his brain. Can't make mistakes in the murder game. For everybody he catch, he get another raise. He know that crime pays. Flood your block with a crime wave. My Glock 9 waves. I got little homies my mom's age, and they'll kill for me. Sound like a movie to you, but this shit real to me. Never snitch and never cross your friends. The principles was instilled in me. You never met a nigga real as me. Made my first 1,000 and I shed a tear. Made my first 1,000 and I shed a tear. It's real talk. I was like 16. Made my first 1,000 and I shed a tear. Word. Made my first 1,000 and I shed a tear. I shed a tear.
Hey, where's Stewie? That's tomorrow, and that is it for us today. Okay, I don't know. Whatever it is, it's not right on the teleprompter.
There it is. We are going to do Sting, yeah.
There's no words there. To play us out. What does that mean, to play us out? To end the show?
Yeah.
All right, go.
In 5, 4, 3.
That's tomorrow, and that is it for us today, and we'll leave you with a... I can't do it. We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it, and we'll do it live. Fucking thing sucks.
In 5, 4, 3.
That's tomorrow, and that is it for us today. I'm Stewie Griffin. Thanks for watching. We'll leave you with Sting and a cut off his new album. Take it away.